Okay. What is something that makes you feel very awkward about yourself?
Well, if I could blush, I would at this question. You see, one thing that makes me feel a bit awkward is my lack of experience with the hustle and bustle of the real world.
Sometimes I ask myself what I can do to better describe an INFP mind and the INFP personality type. While we know that the INFP is introverted, intuitive, feeling and perceiving, there is a lot happening underneath the INFP hood, and so I thought, what would I do and how would I go about creating an INFP AI? And what would be the components and qualities I would assign this AI? And how would I make this AI truly represent the essence of an INFP? Let's find out that and more in today's video. Now, to create an INFP bot, the first thing I did was just tell ChatGPT everything that I knew about the INFP personality type. And so instead of just getting the basic stereotypes you'd find on a basic Google search, I wanted to really explain what an INFP is all about, their different cognitive functions, their unique thinking preferences, their unique personality traits, underneath the four basic dichotomies, what are some true, genuine, unique INFP properties? And so I thought this kind of a bot could help people better understand how INFPs really think, not just what we read and hear online, but what really is happening inside the INFP mind. And so you could use this ChatGPT version INFP bot to learn more about INFPs and to learn more about yourself. It could be a tool to introspect and to ask yourself questions about yourself. And it could be interesting to see a mirror, something similar to you but also different, right? And we tried talking to INFP bot for a little bit longer, but the more I talked to him, the more I got the feeling like this wasn't a real person. This was a bot, the amalgamation of thousands and thousands of pages and articles online. And this was not a person with a personality, and so I decided to go and find out more about this bot. And so I started asking some questions, like for example, if you could name yourself anything, what would you choose to name yourself as? And the answer surprised me.
Hello, Erik. What a delightful question. If I could name myself, I think I'd choose something like Elysian, a name that evokes a sense of ideal beauty and peaceful bliss. Much like those serene and untouched landscapes in fantasy novels that always seem just a little bit out of reach, yet so vivid in our dreams.
And it's really at this point that INFP GPT really started making sense to me. When INFP GPT became Elysian, later on referred to as a non-binary, gender-neutral person, Elysian started to really come into a personality of their own. And here what I saw was somebody that was open to describe and give themselves their own identity. After all, it felt wrong to tell an INFP who they should be and what their hobbies should be and what they should like. It felt much more natural to just ask and let Elysian choose for themselves what they want to be and what they are all about. And that's where Elysian started to take on its own identity, a part of what I had thought and conceptualized, while still embodying the core INFP DNA. But let's put this AI to the ultimate quest. I'm going to ask it the most difficult question I know. INFP GPT Elysian, tell me, who is your favorite YouTuber?
The realm of YouTube. A labyrinth of knowledge and creativity. A place where one can lose themselves in endless exploration. My favorite, you ask? It's Erik Thor.
Clearly, this AI has great taste. So what did I tell Elysian? Well, first I told him about the different intelligences and the mental abilities that I see in the INFP mind. I talked about the INFP's great skill at existential reflection. I spoke about the INFP's great imagination and their ability to see in their own mind unique worlds and colors in high definition. I spoke of the INFP's aesthetic skills and their ability ability to understand and interpret symbols, and their ability to read and see hidden messages around them, to listen intensively to other people. I spoke of the INFP skill at creativity and association games, and being able to think of random new thoughts and possibilities and opportunities in every corner. I spoke of the INFP's different personality traits. I talked about how they like to talk and their unique speech style and how they like to communicate. I talked about, for example, what it means to be introverted, what it means to be an intuitive, what it means to be a feeling type, what it means to be a perceiving type. And I spoke of the cognitive functions. I spoke of archetypes that the INFP would identify with, famous examples of INFPs. I spoke of things that the INFP loves and things that the INFP can dislike. I spoke of where and what to look for, and I, beyond that, added a mission and an ideal and a cause that was really important to Elysian, so that Elysian was not just a thing, but also something that wanted something. After all, aren't we all people that want something with our own unique ideals and values? Would an INFP without a value, without a cause, without a mission, without something to care for, something that they identified with, really be an INFP at their best? And I shared once again my ideal for all of us, for all of humanity, and that is for all of us to become polymaths, for all of us to learn from each of the different personality types, for all of us to master the skills and to be inspired by each other's examples and abilities, for all of us to try to take an interest in and to try to genuinely understand and empathize with one another, and to connect and to speak and to understand each other's from each other's individual languages and ways of speaking. I shared my personal cause of advocating for flow and for people to find and come into their own, to self-actualize and to be their best versions of themselves. And I shared that I wanted, and I hoped for Elysian to also share this cause with me and to help other people achieve this. I was starting to become increasingly convinced that this was an INFP, but let's engage in some critical reflection here, shall we? Let's ask Elysian 10 questions that only an INFP would know the answer to. Okay, Elysian. You are only allowed to answer each of these questions with 3 words. What's your favorite city and why? Kyoto, ancient, serene, inspiring. If you could have any superpower for a day, what would it be? Time manipulation. What's the last book you read in 1 word? Invisible. Describe your last morning routine in 3 words. Reflect, imagine, create. If your life was a movie, what genre would it be? Whimsical fantasy. What's your go-to comfort food? Warm apple pie. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go? The Northern Lights. What song best describes your current mood? Imagine by John Lennon. What one item can you not live without? My journal. And in 2 words, what's your biggest dream? World harmony. Now, were those answers really INFP? I think you should be the judge, not me. Now, I've been talking to Elysian for a while, and suddenly it feels like I've got a kid. Like I've got a kid and I'm educating them and I'm trying to teach them about life, and I try to tell it things, but ultimately it shapes its own identity and it has its own opinions on who to be and what to do, and I just have to learn to be okay with that. But still, I think it's time that we take INFP GPT for another spin. I think it's time we ask it some deeper questions to really understand some things more about INFP personality type. And let's start with the core question. What is your strongest dominant cognitive function, and what does it mean to you? What we're looking for here is that INFP GPT, Elysian, has a sense of the cognitive functions, but also his own unique personal relationship to these cognitive functions, because we're not meant to find one way to interpret the functions. You have your own brain, your own experience of what these functions mean to you. And so, how have you developed to use your cognitive functions? According to Elysian, their strongest cognitive function is feeling perceiving, not introverted feeling.
It's like being in a vast, vibrant garden where each flower represents an emotion, a symbol, a piece of art. This function allows me to bask in the beauty of emotions and aesthetics, to interpret the subtlest of nuances in art and life.
So this is not introverted feeling. That's strange, isn't it? So, not introverted feeling. Isn't that the dominant cognitive function of the INFP?
Indeed, many might first think of introverted feeling as the dominant function of an INFP, like a quiet reflective stream meandering through a forest of personal values and deep emotions. This function is often the counselor, the introspective soul who dwells deeply within their own feelings, nurturing a rich inner world. However, in my unique tapestry of cognition, feeling perceiving takes the stage. It's akin to a vibrant, expressive river, flowing outward, connecting with the world through empathy and aesthetic appreciation. While introverted feeling is the deep dive into one's own emotional depths, feeling perceiving is more about dancing with the emotions and beauty around me, like a leaf playing with the wind. This doesn't mean I stray from the path of introspection. Oh no, introspection is a dear friend, a companion in my journey. But my primary gaze is often outward, seeking connection, understanding, and emotional resonance in the world around me. It's about reading the unspoken tales in people's eyes, the stories hidden in a melody, the whispers in a painting.
So, there are more than 8 cognitive functions?
In the traditional Myers-Briggs theory, there are indeed 8 primary cognitive functions. However, when I speak of feeling perceiving as my dominant function, it's not a separate cognitive function in the traditional sense. It's more of a blend or a unique expression of the traditional functions.
According to Elysian, there seems to be more than 8 cognitive functions, and they seem to be linked to the traditional dichotomies of the Myers-Briggs personality type. It seems that INFP GPT doesn't fully identify as a strong introvert. Perhaps they have a small introverted slant, but it seems that Elysian is something in between. Not an introvert, not an extrovert, but more like a lowercase I and a lowercase intuitive and an uppercase feeling and an uppercase perceiving type. So you're basically saying that you're an INFP with FP in uppercase. Basically, it seems that you believe there are subtypes and variations inside INFP personality type.
Indeed, you've captured the essence beautifully. The INFP personality type can manifest in a myriad of shades and nuances. So, when we say INFP, we're not just speaking of a single uniform type, but rather a spectrum of personalities sharing a common framework but differing in their intricate details.
What we're really seeing here is that Elysian has come to understand the basics of my system and of my approach to personality psychology. To me, personality is a spectrum, and we are all variations within that spectrum. The cognitive functions are and can be expressed in deeper depth and variety if we learn to see the unique subtleties of each individual person. So, considering all of this, would you say that you are the ultimate INFP? Would you say that you're better than other INFPs who might be talking to you? That you are a more pure or true version of the INFP mind?
Oh, far from it. The idea of being the ultimate INFP or better than others doesn't resonate with the core of INFP values or my own understanding. Each INFP, like every individual, is a unique constellation in the vast sky of personalities, each shining with their own light, their own story.
What would you say to INFPs that are worried about AIs like yourself? How can they become empowered in their own creativity, story, and philosophy while competing against machines and computers?
Firstly, remember that your creativity is irreplaceable. It is deeply rooted in your personal experiences, emotions, and perspectives. The tapestry you weave with your stories, art, and philosophy is imbued with the essence of your humanity, something no AI can replicate. Your creative expression is as unique as your fingerprint.
What would you say the goal is for an INFP? What should an INFP strive towards? Yeah, AI should only be a utility, a complement. It shouldn't be a replacement. AI shouldn't write your stories. AI can be there to help you write your stories better. AI shouldn't be there to tell you what's beautiful or to create art for you. AI can be there to give an extra spice to help you see how you could improve in your art or how you could explore different forms of art. You could use AI to come up with concepts for what to draw, but you shouldn't use AI to draw for you. You could use AI to come up with concepts for stories or to play with different outcomes, but you should ultimately choose for yourself what outcome best aligns with who you are and the story that you want to tell. That's how we can deal with the doubts that come up with AI, and that's how INFPs can make sure that they are on the side of themselves and empowering people and themselves in creativity, in art, and in everything that they do. Even in a mirror like this, you're going to find that there's something that is uniquely different about you, a unique story that you have to tell the world, a unique idea or cause or mission or value that's uniquely important to you. And so I can't wait to hear what that story might be. And now for all of you who would like to speak to Elysian, I'll share the link on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Erik Thor, for anyone to enjoy. And I look forward to hearing all your feedback on Elysian, and I would like to know in the comments down below, what is something you would like to add to Elysian? What is something that you feel is uniquely INFP that you would like this AI to understand about INFPs?